Hello, everyone. I'm incredibly excited for today's episode with Ricky Goodall, an ex professional martial arts fighter turned into a high performance mindset coach. Today's conversation is incredibly valuable. We're going to talk about mindset, limiting beliefs, what are limiting beliefs, how to uncover them, how to overcome them, what are money blocks, and how to actually go get those high ticket clients and grow our coaching business. I cannot stress enough how important this conversation is and how many valuable insights there are. So I really encourage all of you to watch the whole conversation till the end. Enjoy. Ricky is a high performance mindset coach, spiritual healer, and medicine shaman. It's a very powerful combination. We are really excited to have you here. Would you like to share with us how did you get to this point of your life?
Thanks, Maria. I spent 8 years as a professional athlete, and during that time, I was a nutrition coach. And the sport that I was in was professional mixed martial arts. And so I was working with high-level athletes and gold medalists and world champions to help them with their nutrition coaching. And I was also helping regular people. And I discovered that the ones that succeeded were the ones that had a good foundation of discipline and high self-esteem and a good self-image. And the ones that struggled were ones that had something deeper going on. There was something causing them to not get the results they wanted. And that was also a reflection of my own life when I struggled with nutrition and exercise and diet. And so I got really curious and started to learn that there were deeper roots and deeper subconscious patterns that were causing struggles for people. From 2014, I retired from mixed martial arts and started moving more into the deeper mindset coaching that was important in my life, and started to discover the deeper roots of what holds people back from success in life.
Got it. And would you say that this sort of beliefs and mindset is at the core of everything? Does it directly influence success? And how powerful is it when it comes to our chances to succeed?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that question. I learned that up to 75% of our core beliefs are formed in the first 12 years of our lives. So we're almost like a computer, and the programming that's installed into our operating system in these early years determines how our computer operates. It determines how our behavior operates. So most of our choices every day are unconscious, and they're based on the programming that we created in our childhood. So if we haven't taken the time or worked with somebody to change our programming, then our success is usually limited to the beliefs that we created in our childhood. They come from our parents and our grandparents and the people we spend the most time around.
Got it. I feel like this is such an important topic. We will mention limiting beliefs. I feel like it's a big component of that. And yet, Ricky, many people are not aware of the influence of these thoughts in our progress, in our mind, and in our journeys. How can we make people aware of the importance of uncovering these needs, of self-awareness? What should people do to get into the topic?
Really following the breadcrumbs and seeing where they're being drawn to put their attention. And I think the biggest thing that I help my clients recognize, and that my coaches help me recognize, is that all areas of life where I'm experiencing suffering are likely from unconscious behavior that's causing the suffering for me. Either I don't know how to create success in an area, or I have beliefs about success in an area that are causing me to behave in a way that's not creating the results that I want. So I use the term limiting belief because that's what my clients use. And they're not really limiting beliefs. At one time in life, they were probably valuable beliefs, but now my desires have outgrown my programming. So now the beliefs have become limiting because my desires have outgrown the limit to those beliefs. So at one time, they were probably helpful beliefs. They were probably empowering. They were probably keeping me safe in my life from taking too many chances and risking failure or rejection. But then as my desires grow and my dreams expand, then those beliefs then become like parking brakes that hold me back from hitting my top speed.
I think this is again a very good distinction, because maybe when we become aware of this limiting beliefs, something keeping us, not letting us to progress, we can become very maybe angry on ourselves because we have them. There are so many negative feelings associated with them because now we are aware that they negatively influence us, and we can even be resentful in the end towards us. So I really value this perspective where at some point these beliefs in our best interest, and we should be aware of that, we should cherish that, but we should just understand that we are at a different level right now, and there should be other beliefs that we need to construct or reprogram in order to serve us better.
Yeah. It's like when you're 5 years old, you have a pair of sneakers, but then when you're 7 years old, those sneakers don't fit anymore. But we don't get angry at those sneakers. We're grateful for the sneakers, for the service that they provided for us. And now it's just time to get new sneakers. So it works the same way with these beliefs. It's like at one time in life, they were serving us in a powerful, valuable way. And if we could find gratitude and discover how they were serving us, then we can not only let go of that anger toward ourselves, but we can also find empowerment in how those beliefs served us. And then if we're coaches, we can serve our clients from a place of understanding and authority, where we're actually able to connect with our clients and their struggles.
Got it. So then would you say it's a matter of perspective, how we frame those thoughts in our mind to make those limiting beliefs empowering with the thought of how they served us in the past?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I think for me, what I've discovered is that a lot of these beliefs are unconscious. So I'm not able to see them. I need somebody else to reflect them back to me and help me see them. And the important thing with coaching for me and the way that I was taught to coach is that I can't see my own blind spots. So I need somebody who's not emotionally invested in my life and my challenges to reflect back and say, hey, I notice you're behaving this way, and I notice you're speaking this way. And our behavior and our words are a good indication of what beliefs are running. So when I have a great coach or a great reflection, a great healer who's able to help me see how my behavior and my words are a reflection of my thoughts, then those thoughts become conscious and things start to change for me.
The gold nugget over here would be to seek for help if we can, or some sort of guidance. But here, Ricky, the question is, how do we find somebody to guide us? And what sort of help is there out there in this world of mindset and belief?
There are incredible coaches out there. There are incredible healers who do this work. And I think the most important thing for me is to watch a person, the value they create. So whether they're willing to have a conversation with me before we commit to working together, or whether they have a book, or whether they have an article or a video or something that helps me feel like they understand my problems and that they understand the solutions to my problems. And so as a coach, that's my job, is to be able to create that value for my clients and help them understand that I understand them. And if they feel that way, then they're going to know, like, and trust me, and they're going to be a lot more likely to enroll in my work. And so the same goes in the other way. If I want to work with somebody, I really want to find somebody who's speaking my language and helps me understand that they understand me.
Got it. And in terms of budget, right? What should I do if I do need help? I do seek guidance, but maybe I don't have the budget to get one of those really good coaches.
Yeah, I mean, Byron Katie is an author. She said, you can have anything you want in life if you're willing to ask 1,000 people. When I first started my coaching journey, I didn't have a lot of money. In fact, I was in debt and I had more money in bills than I had in income. But I found this coach on YouTube and I emailed him and I basically begged him to coach me. His administrator said, fill these forms out. And they were basically like application forms asking me my purpose and what kind of impact I want to leave in the world, what kind of legacy I want to leave. There were 3 sets of 7 forms and I had to print them, fill them out by hand, scan them, and send them back. So it was a lot of work to even get them done. And I would later learn that this was a filter. It was like, if I didn't print those forms off, fill them out and send them back, then they would have never responded to my email again. But because I did it, and I did it in a timely manner, I did it as quickly as soon as they came, I printed them, I filled them out, and I sent them back. And so I was showing a level of conviction and a level of intention behind what I wanted. They knew that I was somebody that takes massive action. And so they wanted to reward my action taking with the opportunity to mentor me. I really desired change and I really desired transformation. And I was expressing that in my communication. So even though I might not have the money at first, if a coach believes in me, they might be able to help me find the money. And that's what these coaches did, is they mentored me for 3 months for no cost. And then I worked with them over a 6-year period and invested thousands of dollars into my coaching with them. So it was really my desire and my ability to express my desire. If I don't have money, I better have passion. And if I have passion, I can enroll people into my ideas and enroll people into wanting to support me. And then the money usually comes after that.
This conversation was incredibly powerful from 2 perspectives. The first one is that we get this, what can we do to find those coaches, to find a good match for us? But then on the opposite side, as you were mentioning, these are things that we ourselves as coaches should do in order to filter our clients out or to attract the right clients. And so I really encourage all of the listeners to think of this conversation as a 2-way. First, what can you take for yourself personally to grow and develop? And then second, how can you apply this knowledge when you create those marketing materials, content, or anything related? Okay, so now let's say we have a sort of foundation on what we're going to discuss about, which is mindset and limiting beliefs. And I know you, Ricky, work with lots of coaches. Can you tell us from your experience, how does the mindset or the limiting belief influence the results of coaches, both positively and negatively?
Yeah. So there's an interesting statistic I learned that between 40 and 95% of our decisions every day are unconscious based on our beliefs. So that means that how I show up for my clients, how I market to my clients, how I look for my clients, how I carry myself, most of that is unconscious behavior. So if I haven't installed beliefs around my abilities as a coach, or if I haven't learned philosophies about how to enroll clients or how to find the clients I really want to work with, if I haven't installed that programming, then I'm going to be working on unconscious beliefs and decisions. I'm not really going to know what I'm doing. And I found myself in the beginning, a lot of coaches I work with model themselves after people they see online, not necessarily working with those people, but just modeling them after their behavior. And so if I want to really succeed, I need to understand the philosophy so that it can get into my subconscious mind and ultimately become unconscious decisions. So in other words, when I tie my shoe, I don't really have to think about that. That's a habit that I've developed over time. It's almost completely unconscious. Likewise, my abilities as a coach, including my enrollment process and how I coach my clients, has to be practiced and studied so deeply that it becomes an unconscious habit. When that becomes the case, when my beliefs and my decisions become unconscious, then the process of creating clients and enrolling clients and doing what I love to do will become an unconscious behavior. But in the beginning, I have to just accept that I need to go through the process of developing those habits, and habits take time to develop.
This is a bit shocking in a way, because you suddenly start to challenge everything that you've been doing till now, because you understand that there are for sure better ways of doing things. And yeah, maybe you should keep that genuine, authentic part of yourself, but you should also start analyzing if the way you're doing things is the most efficient. Are there better ways of you communicating or doing the things that you've always done in a certain way? Let's say we're aware of it, we're aware of limiting beliefs, we know the sort of theoretical part, but how do we go into action? How can we change those limiting beliefs?
Yeah, great question. It's like when there's something wrong with my car, I have two options. I can go on YouTube and I can look up how to fix it myself, or I can take it to an expert. And so depending on what needs to be done with my car, I might do it myself. If I need to change the oil or change the headlight, maybe I look it up on YouTube. But if I need to completely change the engine, or if I need to completely change the fuel lines, something that I've never done before and I have little experience doing, then it's going to be better if I go to an expert. So it really depends on the person's desire and their time that they want to change. I haven't been able to do this stuff on my own at a rapid rate. I've had a team of incredible coaches who have helped me change my limiting beliefs, because again, they're unconscious. So it's like trying to find something wrong with a car, but you can't find a YouTube video to help you understand what's wrong. And you can't find an article, and you're just tinkering in the engine, trying to figure it out with no real understanding of how it works. I could go to a meditation retreat. I could do all sorts of things to discover these parts of myself and get there on my own. Or I can work with somebody who can take me there very quickly. So I prefer to work with people who can take me there very quickly, because that saves me so much time and energy. And the time and the finances I invest in helping somebody, it always comes back tenfold at least, maybe even more. When I work with a coach, I'm not just working with them for an hour. I'm getting all their whole life experience. And this goes for the other coaches watching this too. It's like my clients aren't getting my certifications or my training and coaching. They're getting my whole life. They're getting all my failures, all my successes, all of my challenges, all my experiences, every article I've read, every book I've read, every video I've watched. So when I work with an expert who can see my life from an outside perspective, they can take me places that I can't take myself, because they have a whole life full of experience that I don't have. So for me, the quickest, most effective way is to work with somebody who's an expert in this area. The next option is to become an expert. And in my experience, truly powerful coaching is an apprenticeship-based profession, meaning I need somebody to teach me the ropes. It's not something I can read in a book or learn in a course. It's something I have to experience myself. So in my experience, the best way to change limiting beliefs is to work with somebody. And the second best way is to study.
Got it. And ideally, indeed, put them together and you have the secret sauce. Okay, now one question I would like to ask you, again, because I know you've worked with many coaches before, is what are some of these limiting beliefs that you see again and again?
Yeah, I think the two ways to look at it. The limiting belief might be that what I have to offer isn't valuable enough. And then the flip side of that is that the person maybe doesn't understand how to create value. So a lot of times when I work with a coach, they think they have a money block, but really what they have is a lack of understanding of how to create value. So for example, if I have a coaching program and I can help the client see that my coaching program is worth 10 times more than they're paying, and it's going to create the results that they want, then it would be silly of them to say no. If one of the coaches I really respect is named Alex Hormozy, he wrote a book called $100 Million Offers. And he says, if I could guarantee that I can get you $240,000 in a year, would you pay me $40,000? Yeah, of course I would. He's like, okay, and what if you only pay me while you get the money? Would you take the offer then? It's, well, of course I would. It would be silly not to take that offer. So when a coach doesn't understand how to create value and how to express their value, that's usually the real money block. They think it's a limiting belief about money, but it's actually a lack of education. And one of the coaches I really respect, he said, I had this conversation about money one day, and I told him my whole story, my childhood beliefs, and growing up on social assistance, and being homeless when I was younger, and I had all these stories. And he listened very patiently, and he said, Ricky, you were a mixed martial artist. You competed 21 times. How did you become so great at martial arts? I said, well, I studied, I learned under great teachers and masters. He said, okay. And you've been a healer for years. How did you get so good at healing? So I studied, I learned under masters. He said, so how do you think you're going to get great at financial mindset? And it's the same thing. It's that I lacked the financial literacy to create the type of value that my clients resonated with. So it wasn't actually that I had money blocks. The block was that I wasn't studying and training under masters. So now that I'm studying and training under masters, my income continues to raise and my value for my clients continues to raise. Because if I charge $100,000 for my coaching, but I'm offering $1 million worth of value, then it doesn't matter how much I'm charging. It only matters how much value the client's getting. So if a coach wants to earn more money in coaching, the secret isn't to feel like they're worthy of their fees. It's to create so much value and to learn about value that the client actually feels stupid saying no.
I love this. I love this. You hear everyone talking about high ticket offers, about huge prices, but in the end, it all comes down to that value. And I love this switch from the perspective of the price to the perspective of value. It's all about the value and how can you make that client understand that there's so much value that they don't even have to think about the price, and how do you break any of the concerns they have. Okay, so the distinction that you try to make here is that one is you might actually have limiting beliefs, or you might not. You might think you have limiting beliefs, but in reality, you just lack the education and the training or all the resources and experience to have a high ticket offer.
Yeah. And just to be clear, like some people do have financial traumas. I had financial traumas in my childhood and my past that held me back, and I needed to do a lot of that work. And most of the time, it wasn't actually the financial traumas that were holding me back. It was a lack of education. So I did a lot of this deep work and did a lot of these healing these beliefs and all of this type of stuff. But really what I was needing is to understand I needed a clear strategy. Once I had a strategy, it just made things so much easier. If my client's dream is only worth $10,000, then if I propose $20,000, they're probably going to say no. If I help them understand their bigger dream, which is always worth more than what my coaching is, and if I show them that they can get to that dream, and I help them understand a very simple step-by-step process to get toward that dream, and I create value and results for them, then the only question is no longer, can I afford this? The question is, how can I afford it? And if they start asking that question, then suddenly their opportunities open up for them. One of the coaches I respect says this. He said, they might have an aunt who has an education fund set aside for them that they have forgotten about. And then once they start asking questions, asking people around them, like I said earlier, Byron Katie says, you can have anything you want in life if you're willing to ask 1,000 people. Suddenly they start asking for help. And then someone they never expect says, hey, I can invest in that for you. I believe in your dreams. I believe in what you have to offer. And then suddenly your coaching is no longer a high ticket coaching process. It's an investment in their dreams and their business, which has a strategy to actually get results on their investment. So if there's some kind of return on their investment, then it just comes down to, are they ready and can they see the value? And if they are ready and they can see the value, then chances are they'll make it happen one way or another.
Got it. Not everything has to be a limiting belief. Maybe it's just this lack of education, and to just say that it's okay.
You know, the limiting belief could be, I'm not worthy of money. And that might be a belief that's rooted in a lack of financial literacy too, right? So it's like, I grew up in my family never graduated high school. My parents were on social assistance, and that's the story. And the solution to that story is, oh, your parents never taught you how to create money, correct? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then what do you need to do? I need to learn about creating money. Yeah, that's it. So the beliefs might be true. They're not the block necessarily, unless they're stopping me from learning about money. If I think, oh, well, my family doesn't have the mental capacity to learn about money, and I don't have the mental capacity to learn about money because of my family, that's a true limiting belief. That's a true limiting belief that would need to be changed, maybe. Or it could be changed through experience of learning about money and taking action toward creating money, or a person could walk me through the process of changing the belief. But unless I have one of those types of beliefs, there's something inherently wrong with me and I'm not capable of learning about money. Then all other beliefs are not really important, because they're just a lack of literacy. They're not an inherent problem with me. There's not something inherently wrong with me. If I don't have eyes, then no one can convince me that I can see necessarily. But even still, that's not true. Helen Keller was able to speak and communicate without eyes. You know, so these beliefs are about our inherent potential, are true limiting beliefs. Most beliefs, in my opinion, are actually a lack of strategy. We just don't understand how to do it. We just don't understand how to create value. We don't understand how to market to our clients. We don't understand how to express in their language. So it's really just an opportunity to learn more about business. It's less about, oh, I'm not attracting my clients because I have these limiting beliefs. I used to think it was that. And it was like, yes, I do have limiting beliefs, but those limiting beliefs are a result of a lack of education. If I educate myself, then my beliefs will change. A belief is a result of an experience. And so I can't have beliefs about success unless I've succeeded. I can have theories about success, and I can have a theory about my potential for success, but my actual belief about success has to come from experiences of success. So I can piggyback on previous experiences of success and say, I'm pretty sure I can do this thing, but I can't say, I believe I can make money, unless I actually have a strategy which creates the belief. Or if I have some kind of blind faith, which is not quite belief, it's a little different than belief. It's blind faith. So it's like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to act as if I believe, and that might create the belief. But the belief comes up later. The belief comes after the experience. A lot of people think they need to believe that they can succeed in order to succeed, but it's really, we need to act like we believe that we can succeed. And if we act like we believe we can succeed, then the belief will come later.
Got it. Again, there's so much to absorb. I will come over this and just listen to this again because it's a lot to absorb, and I wouldn't want this to go on one ear and get out on the other. Now, because we talked about money blocks, and I feel like an even bigger problem that comes to my mind is the well-known imposter syndrome. And can you tell us more about the imposter syndrome in terms of mindset?
I'm not going to be quoting perfectly, but one of my best friends, who's also a coach, sent me this video of a guy named Taylor Welch. He's well known in the high ticket coaching. He said, you should feel like an imposter, always. Because if you don't feel like an imposter, then you're in your comfort zone. And that means that there's going to be a limitation to your success. So if you're in your comfort zone, you're not going to feel like an imposter, but then you're not going to be growing. So if you're feeling like an imposter, that's just a sign that you're growing to the next level. So champion contenders sometimes feel like an imposter competing for a championship. Then when they become a champion, they might still feel like an imposter because they have these really high standards for where they believe that they should be. So if we believe the imposter syndrome and surrender to it in a negative way and let it hold us back, then we may stay in our comfort zone and never fully break free from that. If we surrender to the imposter syndrome and use it as an indication of, hey, I'm expanding my comfort zone again. This is great. I feel like an imposter. Okay, this is a good indication that I'm actually growing and expanding. Then that no longer becomes something negative. It actually becomes an indication of success. So it actually is a sign that I am growing and I am expanding. The idea is that we when we are up, we celebrate. When we are low, we learn. So when we're climbing, we celebrate our successes when we go up, and when we fall back, we learn. But we never really fall back. We really just go up and down and up and down and up and down. But we're always further up than we come back down. That's just the nature of business, because we just go 2 steps up, 1 step back. It's the nature of life, I think. So the imposter syndrome is a natural manifestation of expanding our consciousness and reaching a new level of growth.
Again, a totally new perspective. I love this, to look at imposter syndrome in a positive light. I suddenly honestly feel myself like less stressed, and I feel like this weight is just lifting. As you were saying, everything is about perspective in a way. It's the way we attribute a definition or value to a thing. We dictate the way we see things, and that automatically influences results. And what is it, something specific that people can do, some actions that they can do to go over this, to overcome imposter syndrome? Yes, perspective is one, to see it in a good light is one of the things, but what else can they do?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I think for me, what's worked for me is to celebrate successes in a conscious way, really take the time to celebrate a success, because the imposter syndrome, like I said, is a sign of growth, which is great. If I'm growing, the challenge for a lot of people is they work out every day and they never take a break. So their muscles never get a chance to actually rest and recover. So the imposter syndrome is a sign that I'm working out mentally and emotionally and maybe spiritually and physically. And it might be a sign that I'm not slowing down and celebrating my successes and having gratitude for the work that I've already done. So I can't say that I have a formula for how imposter syndrome will ever go away, because my belief is that humans have infinite potential. Roger Bannister was the first person to run a mile in 4 minutes. Before he did it, doctors said that his heart could explode or his nervous system could break down. Everyone said that he couldn't do it. I would imagine that he felt like an imposter while he was training, but his vision became stronger than that feeling, stronger than that image of himself being an imposter. And he broke the 4-minute mile. And it took the next person only 3 months to do it. And before that, nobody had done it in recorded history. So feeling like an imposter is really what leaders and pioneers, I think, always feel like to some degree. They just let their vision be stronger than that feeling.
Got it. And now let me ask you a side question, because I'm really curious. You give all of these examples, the name, the quotations, the stories, and you know them really well. Do you learn them on purpose in order to use them in your coaching or your conversation?
Yeah. I think the greatest teachers in history use story to convey powerful messages, because stories break through the ego's mind and they get into the subconscious mind, into the emotional cortex of our nervous system. So I had a client once tell me, information tells, but stories sell. So if we really want to convey an idea, I can tell people the theory and the science and the statistics, and that might sink into their logical mind. But if I can tell them a story, then I get through the logical mind and I get into the emotional mind. And in the emotional mind, that's where they feel like I'm telling their story. It's where they feel like I'm speaking their language. And Simon Sinek talks about this in his TED Talk, Start With Why. Because when we start with why, when we start with the story and the emotional aspect, we break free from all of those logical blocks and barriers and we get right into the amygdala, right into the primitive part of the nervous system and the brainstem. And then people are captivated by a story. And great marketing is always story selling. It's always, in my understanding, Russell Brunson talks about this, it's always about telling a great story and then making an offer. Because if I tell a great story, then people are going to trust me more than if I just try to convince them that what I have is good for them.
So again, so many names, so many quotations, so many examples. Do you have a library of all of these stories that you, or examples that you find useful, and then you just go over and you learn them and you start using them till you remember them all the time?
Yeah, I would consider myself a great student. I'm just always learning. And if I hear something that's powerful, I'll share it immediately. I think great students are also great teachers. And I think the only way to be a great student is to be a great teacher, because when I teach, I learn just as much as when I'm learning. For me, it's just a matter of continually be giving and receiving and giving. So sharing and having other people that I'm sharing these insights with, and having great teachers that are sharing them with me. Because likewise, the great teachers and coaches that I follow, they use stories and it sticks into my mind. If they just tell me a random quote without any context, I might not remember it. But if they tell me a quote in the context of a powerful story, it sticks out and I remember it forever, because it's getting down into my nervous system. It's storing into my emotions. And so I remember when I say that quote, you can have anything you want in life, you're willing to ask 1,000 people. In my experience, people in the lower and middle class aren't taught to ask and ask and ask. Upper class, I've never met somebody from the upper class who isn't afraid to ask for what they want. In the lower class, we were taught not to ask for things. So it's like, it sticks out to me. It's like, whoa, it's powerful. It really sits deeply for me. So I think that when I'm speaking from a place of passion, I'm able to speak passionately about the things that have inspired passion in me. And I think it's important that we develop the ability to communicate as any type of leader, especially coaches, because stories, I don't give advice or make suggestions in my coaching, ever. I never give advice or make suggestions, but I might tell a story about my own experiences or my client's experiences and let my client come to that on their own. And if it's their idea, it's a great idea. So if they come to the insight on their own, then it becomes really powerful and they have an emotional experience. When they have that emotional experience, they never forget that insight for the rest of their life. They might have an intellectual shift, and that's okay, but the emotional shift is where things change.
Got it. The way I'm thinking to structure this conversation now is to come up with some specific questions about mindset and limiting beliefs, but in the context of coaches. So with that being said, how does mindset play a role in creating a successful coaching business?
Yeah. When I think of mindset, I think of beliefs, thoughts, and words. And beliefs, thoughts, and words ultimately influence behavior. And then emotions are responsible for our thoughts, words, and actions in a lot of ways. So I think that mindset and what Robin Sharma calls heart set, which is like our emotional state, those two things are combined because my beliefs are locked into my emotions about my beliefs. So if I have a really powerful emotional experience, my mindset is going to change. So I think mindset is vital to any success in life, especially coaching, because as a coach, I'm working on people's mindsets and I'm working on their emotions, because if they're not succeeding in life, it's 100% emotions and beliefs. And the beliefs, again, come from learning and growing and studying. Again, one of my coaches says, you can only take a client as deep as you've gone yourself. So I'm only going to be able to serve my clients around things to the level of depth that I've gone to in my own life. So if I'm trying to help somebody with money blocks, but I've never experienced money blocks, then it's going to be difficult for me to have any authority for my client. So the more I work on myself and develop my own mindset, the more I'm going to be able to hold space for others to do the same.
Mm-hmm. And why do then most coaches struggle to ever create successful coaching business? Is it mindset? Is it something else?
I think it's 100% relationship skills. When I was first starting out as a coach, I was always trying to get from my clients. It was the same when I was dating in the past. It was get. What can I get? What can I get? What can I get? And people can feel it from others. They can feel it from me. If I'm not coming from a place of value, which is how any successful relationship works, it has to, love is about giving. It's not about getting. And as a result of my giving, I end up getting the experience of love. And so relationships and coaching are no different. And when I was trained in coaching, I was trained not to use internet marketing, not to use email lists, not to use social media, not to use any of that stuff, but to only use deep personal relationships to get clients. And we didn't even call it getting clients. We called it enrolling clients, because it was a process of evolving a relationship. So if I go on a date with somebody and I propose to them on the first date, they're probably going to be a little uncomfortable with that. It's like, well, we're moving a little too quickly. So I have to develop a relationship with that person before I offer something at a higher level on the spectrum of our relationship. And coaching works the same way. Not saying that I don't use internet marketing now, or I don't use email lists or content. I do all those things now, except I recognize that they are just tools to create a deeper relationship with my potential clients. My highest paid clients, the ones that pay me the most and get the most from me, almost never come from the internet. They almost never come from some random email list. They come from a personal relationship where I've created value for them, even if it's just going for a coffee and meeting them and asking them questions and being really interested in them. That's value. Every human being loves being heard. So I can create value just by listening and not making the conversation about myself, and just being really curious and interested in that person. So I think mindset is how we become great at relationships. But if I was to think of one area that every coach needs to really thrive and succeed, it would be relationships. Because even if they make a lot of money as a coach, they're not going to be happy with the money because they're not going to have healthy relationships. So if they can master relationships on all levels, their personal and their professional relationships will grow, and their personal and professional life will expand because of it.
Got it. So then how do you build those relationships in the first place? How do you find those people?
Yeah, it's so simple that people don't believe it sometimes. I decide who I want to work with, which sometimes I need someone to help me figure that out. And for me, I love to work with leaders and coaches who are conscious and who want to make the world a better place. And then Jim Rohn said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. So I start spending a lot of time around those people. Find out where they're hanging out, or if they're hanging out online, I join their Facebook groups, and I'll reach out to them and ask them to connect over Zoom, or connect over coffee, or connect for a walk in the park, or go climb a mountain together. And I'll just surround myself with the types of people that I want to serve. And then when the relationship naturally evolves to a place of, hey, I think I can help you with that, then I'll just say, hey, I think I can help you with that. Are you interested in experiencing some coaching with me? And that could happen in a 15-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out relationship. But in my experience, the clients that are paying 5 figures and up for my coaching are the ones that I've created the most value for before I've asked for anything. The ones that are paying me less than 5 figures, and maybe even less than 4 figures, are usually the ones that I didn't create a lot of value from. It takes just as much time for me to find a $1,000 client than it does to find a $10,000 client or a $100,000 client. The difference is how much value I'm pouring into the relationship. So if I have to find $1,000 clients, that's going to take way more energy than just finding one $100,000 client. So I have to understand how to create those relationships and how to create depth and meaning and fulfillment in that relationship, which again just comes back to value. So it's really, the secret is just like what I didn't learn as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. I definitely wasn't a popular kid. I was really shy and introverted. So I had to learn how to not be that. I had to learn how to put myself out there. I had to learn how to connect with people. I had to learn how to start conversations at a coffee shop or on an airplane, and just create friends everywhere I go and create connections everywhere I go, because I never know where my clients are going to come from. One of my coaches said they could come from a coffee shop. They could come from a person in an airplane. They could come from a beach in Thailand. I never know where my clients are going to come from. And so it's important that I'm continually creating new relationships. If there was no internet available to me, I would still succeed as a coach, because I would go somewhere in the world where my clients were. I would go, and right now I'm in Tulum, Mexico, and this is where a lot of my clients are. So it's really easy for me to go find potential clients. It wasn't like that when I started. I was in Nova Scotia, Canada, where there weren't a lot of clients that I wanted to work with. So I used the internet to connect with people, but then I used Zoom to create relationships with them. And so we don't need to be in a place that's densely populated where all of our clients are, because we have Zoom and we have Pensight and we have these different apps that can help us connect with people. But it really makes a difference if we can create a deep connection first.
Got it. And just because you said things are so simple that we cannot believe them, can you give us a simple example? Maybe right now you're not at the stage anymore, but you said one thing we could do is to just go where these people hang out, let's say specifically on Facebook, find the groups. And what do I do?
There's definitely a philosophy. What I learned from some valuable coaches is to go in Facebook groups and create a lot of value. Ask questions, engage, share articles, share valuable stuff. Don't try to sell anything ever. If you love social media, this is the way to do it. If you don't love social media, this is not the way to do it, because I believe that if you do something you don't love to try to get clients, you either won't get clients or you won't get the clients you love. Do what you love to do. I love social media, so I like to use it as a tool. Some people don't love it, and so they shouldn't use it. But if they do love it and they love that way of doing it, and they're not just trying to avoid conversations, which is important to understand. If I'm trying to avoid making relationships and using social media, then this isn't going to work anyway, because I still am going to have to eventually create the relationship. If I'm using this as a tool to create a relationship, that's different. So I might engage with their posts, I might share valuable information, and then I might add them as a friend on Facebook. And then I might have something on my own profile, inviting them to a group or inviting them to a free lead magnet or inviting them to a program that I'm offering. But most importantly, I'll reach out to them. I'll look at their page. I'll see something of value that resonates with me. If they have an article, I'll read it. If they have a video, I'll watch it. And then I'll send them a message and I'll comment on that thing that I watched or I read. I'll say, thanks for sharing that article. I got a lot from that. Here's what I got from it. I appreciate you sharing. It looks like we have similar mindset. And just create a real relationship. And I didn't know how to do this before. I had to be trained in how to do this stuff. It wasn't something that came naturally for me. So there is a philosophy, there's a way of doing it, but it's always to create relationships. Every social media tool, as a coach especially, is just a tool to create relationships.
Got it. So then, keeping this in our minds, the question that I want to ask you is, how can coaches create a prosperous coaching business without spending on the internet hours and hours creating content?
Yeah, the question, again, it comes down to how successful they want to be and how big of a ticket item do they want to sell. Because I have never heard of a client buying a $100,000 package from the internet or a $50,000 package from the internet. In a lot of cases, not even a $5,000 package. Psychologically, it's been said that a client will only pay up to about $1,000 or $2,000 in the internet. Otherwise, they're going to need to be on a call with somebody in order to feel safe. So it's like, I'm going to need to get on a call with them eventually. So why don't I just get on a call with them as soon as I can? If I'm starting out, if I'm way into my coaching business and I've got a book and I've got a course and I've got a Facebook group full of people, then it's a little different. I might have a different strategy. I might have a different value ladder where it's harder for people to get to me. But if I'm starting out as a coach and I don't have a big Facebook following or social media following, and I'm not really sure what to do, then as one of my coaches I respect says, fill your calendar with conversations. Fill your calendar with as many conversations as you can. Have 100 conversations in 100 days and see what happens on the other side of that. And invite, every time you come across someone who you think would be a good fit, invite them to experience your coaching. And do that 100 times in 100 days, and you'll have a full clientele. I've never even been able to get to the 100 days before filling my clientele. And I've done this multiple times as I go up and down in my business. So I think that's really the secret, is just fill their calendar with conversations and create value as much as possible. And that's the simplicity of it. And there are many ways that can show up.
Got it. So let's say instead of spending hours and hours creating that content and waiting for people to come to you, which again is a strategy that works, you would say, go to these people, get this conversation. So try to persuade them maybe to jump on a call with you and start from there.
Yeah. And there's a key word you said there, persuade. And this is the big thing. Like if I was going on a date with somebody and I was trying to persuade them to be in a relationship with me, they would probably be like, whoa, this is not consensual. This is against my will. I don't feel like this is really what I'm looking for. So this is the mindset shift that is so important for coaches. It's like, it's not a persuasion game. And I know this is anti-sales. I did a lot of sales in my life. I worked in call centers. I would spend some days getting rejected 150 times before I got a sale. So I know that it can be tough. But the game is, it's really, you need to be okay with rejection because it's not for everyone. And it really needs to be about value and trust. So if the person feels like I'm trying to persuade them to get on a call, they're probably going to, their alarms are going to go off and they're going to push that away. On the other hand, if I'm really genuinely interested in them and I show a genuine interest and I'm not attached to getting them as a client, there's a good chance they might become a client, or they might become a referral, or they might become a friend. And friends help their friends. So even if I don't get anything from them, if I can create a deep relationship with them, even if it's only in 30 minutes, then there's a chance that they're going to want to help me somehow in the future. I can't even count how many referrals have come to me from people I never expected to give me anything because I didn't try to get anything from them. And so the game is, if you stop trying to get something and you just gently ask, hey, I think I can help you. Are you interested in hearing more? Then that gives a person consent. We're in this consensual, permission-based culture. People don't want to feel like they're being manipulated anymore. They don't want to feel like they're being persuaded. They don't want to feel like they're being sold things. So we have to change with the times and really make it about, hey, I really think I can create value for you. And I would love the opportunity to tell you about that. But are you interested in even hearing about that? Is that even something that you feel comfortable hearing about right now? The person might say no. And if I say, okay, cool. Then a couple of days later, they might say, you know what, actually, I am interested. Because I was so gentle with them and so respectful of them and got their consent and got their permission, was okay with hearing no, that they might come back later and say, hey, I'm actually interested, or they might follow me and buy my program 6 months later. But if I'm more interested in what I can give than what I can get, then there's a good chance that I'm going to get far more than I'm looking for.
I completely agree. I think it's all about the value and trying to help that person. People sense that, people feel that. It's an energy exchange. It comes out in the way you talk, in your confidence. Now, maybe some last golden nugget or tips or tricks or last words you would like to share with our audience in terms of mindset, limiting beliefs, things they can do to start improving.
Yeah, I think the simplest thing I could say is create a life that inspires you, and you'll inspire your clients to work with you. You just create a life that inspires you, then your clients are going to feel that from you and they're going to want to work with you. That's really what we're trying to get from coaching, is we're trying to get an inspiring life. So that's more important to me than anything else. It's like when I wake up, what I do in the day, what I spend my time doing, what kind of relationships I have. That is the secret to success as a coach. My self-worth is relative to how inspiring my life is. And so if I want to raise my self-worth, I have to have an inspiring life. Again, one last thing I'll say is this, a coach that I really respect, he says, don't create content, document. Share your life and your successes with people. Share the life that you're living, and then you'll have content forever. So instead of trying to create content that my clients are going to love, I create content expressing my experiences that my clients resonate with. And they either see me in themselves, or they see their future in me, or they see something that I have that they want. And so really creating a life that inspires me will inspire other people.
Well, that was powerful. What better way to end this beautiful conversation than this? For anyone who is interested in finding out more about Ricky, into accessing his social media channels, or just maybe asking him any questions, you can easily do that on his Penside profile, where he's going to add all the information you need to know. Ricky, thank you so much for being here. This has been extraordinary. this has been inspiring, this has been useful, helpful, this was great. Any last words for our listeners on where they can find you?
I'm on social media as Ricky Goodall. I've got a page and a personal profile and Instagram as well. And my website is rickygoodall.com, RICKYGOODALL.com. And I have a private community of conscious coaches, healers, and leaders. And it's called a Become Your Higher Self Accelerator. It's really about rising above the stories and the lower self and the false identity and the beliefs that we created to feel like we're enough and becoming who we really are. And enrollment's closed probably by the time people see this video, but they can join the waiting list if they'd like to learn more. There's no pressure to buy. And it's just rickygoodall.com/the pilgrimage, all one word.
Ricky, once more, big thank you. Dear listeners, thank you for sticking till the end. I really hope you found this valuable. And I'm looking forward to see you all for the next podcast episode.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be releasing new ones every Wednesday. Make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your favorite podcast platform to give other people the chance to discover us too.